Welcome to On the Chain. This is Jeff here with co-host Chip. What is going on tonight?
What's up, Jeff?
It's been at least 24 hours, but man, it's a great day. I'm looking through all these articles and content and things that are constantly boiling up and boiling over in the crypto space. I'll tell you what, there's more news in the crypto space than anywhere else. And Ripple XRP, man, I'll tell you what, the SEC, the U.S. Treasury is placing sanctions on a crypto exchange, and we're going to get into that a little bit. And I did indicate in the title, you must be rich. You're going to have to stick around to see exactly, what that means. But I'll tell you what, the thumbnail, maybe that says it all. I don't know.
I think it says it all, Jeff. And let's get this puppy started. Let's go.
Go.
Welcome to On the Chain.
Welcome, people. And guys, you know the drill. Drop in the city, the country where you're from. This is a global audience. It's a global crypto audience. We love everybody that comes in on the chain here. So just drop it in there. And if you're watching the replay, yeah, drop a comment, man. Comments help out. Well, Jeff and I read every one of them, including all the 4,000 spam ones. Someone puts a thing in about, you can call somebody about Bitcoin, and then there's 4,000 responses to it. And that's not weird or anything. I mean, it's not like there could be an algorithm for Google that would figure that out. No. But Jeff and I have to squash those down all day long. So
that's it. Man, do you know that Cutter's coming and tuning in here from Yorkshire?
Yorkshire, all right, nice, very good, very good. Yorkshire,
it's a great
nice
place. I like Yorkshire.
Late there, man. Very nice.
Really nice.
Yeah, I like the UK in general, man. I've been to all four corners,
nice.
and
I haven't been to Wales. Wales.
Yeah, I've been to Wales. I drove up the coast of Wales. Oh yeah, man, I had some good stories, good ghost stories. Yeah, awesome.
So we got Jim D is up the coast, all the way up there in Cape Canaveral. Had I known that he was hanging out there in Cape Canaveral, I would have tried to stop in to visit when I was renting that place over there in Stewart.
Yeah, there you go.
Visited and actually went to visit the space.
How about that? UI Beach, Hawaii. How about that? What do you think about that? And it's early there. It's earlier there, so that's kind of cool too. It's like 7 hours earlier, I believe, maybe 8. So yeah, it's all good to have everybody in here. But yeah, we got a lot to get going to. I mean, I don't even know where we start. Jeff, where do you want to start tonight? I know you have a video that we probably should check out. You got that?
Man, we have some good stuff to talk about related to Ripple and XRP and all that. But I've got this video that has been percolating a little bit over the past week. Now we've talked a lot about Gensler and the SEC, but this one comes. And it's just fun to analyze this one because he doesn't answer the question. He evades the question. And it's over here on CNBC, and he's talking about cryptocurrency and Robinhood, and they're getting into all these things. And so let's pull this one up. This is like a perfect place to start because it's going to be a lot of fun.
Good. Let's start with our pal with our pair GRE Bear. GRE Bear.
Let's start with the GRE Bear. How about that? Okay, let's do this. Let me expand it like this.
There we go.
And then let me turn up the volume like that.
Pump it up, Jeff.
And then here we go. You ready? Ready to do this?
Here we go. Pump it up.
Chair Gary Gensler. Chair Gensler, appreciate your taking time with us and your willingness, hopefully, to move through so many of those important topics. And with that, let me start with last week in crypto and this week. Of course, you talked about it yesterday in your testimony.
Dude, before we get, how cool is it, right, that every time we get a clip like this, just like with Gasparino on Fox, man, they're talking about crypto.
It's so cool. It's phenomenal.
There it is.
In terms of answering questions as to whether some of these tokens should be regulated as securities. Last week, Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, had some pretty pointed things to say in a tweet. And I'll read the middle one here.
Man, why doesn't he start out with number one?
Of course, Jeff. I mean,
number one was the best one. There's something sketchy going on.
Soft it a little, tone it down a little bit.
Yeah, he's like, let me go to the middle one.
Said they, and the they is you, as in the SEC, refuse to tell us why they think it's a security and instead subpoena a bunch of records from us. We comply. Demand testimony for our employees. We comply. And then tell us they'll be suing us.
Look at the shifty eyes, Jeff.
With zero explanation as to why. Look.
Now, here we go, right? Let's see if he's going to answer the question. You think he's going to answer it?
Well, look at the shifty eyes. Of course he's not going to answer it.
It's already calculating. Here we go. Ready?
to get you to respond to that.
Thank you for having me on your show. It's always good to be back. Look, we have a set of investor protection laws in this country, a basic bargain that was laid out in the 1930s, where Congress wanted to protect the public against fraud and other bad actors. Investors get to decide what to invest in as long as companies make full and fair disclosure. Now, in those laws, there's a very broad definition of what is a security. In fact, it has like 35 different subparts to it. And the reason Congress did that is they really wanted to protect investors against that fraud that can come up in the capital markets. And so cryptocurrencies has come along. I think the laws are clear, the case law, the Supreme Court's weighed in on this multiple times, and that many of these tokens do come under the securities laws, and to the extent that a platform, a lending platform or a trading platform, whether centralized or so-called decentralized,
So-called.
I say so-called, has securities
Oh,
on it.
God.
Our investor protection regime is there to protect the public. I think the public benefits from that, and that's what we're trying to do.
I think he's a
Chip?
farce. What do you think about that, Jeff? I think the guy's absolutely out of his mind. I mean, what is he talking about here? He's like, yeah, you know, securities laws in 1930s, and the law is so clear.
And it's so clear, and the Supreme Court's ruled on it a number of times, and,
Yeah,
and
a number of
this,
times.
and that, and the crypto, and the fraud, and it was all about Coinbase. It's like he asked us for clarity. He didn't even answer the question, but he immediately cloaks it in fraud and investor protection and all this stuff. Never once references the comment, right? And that's all the guy wanted. Hey, just reference the comment. Just tell me, give me an answer.
It was pretty simple. It's like he wants them, and he reads the tweet that said that, you know, look, we asked them, why is it a security? And the next thing you know, they're asking us for subpoena all kinds of documents, which we did comply. Yeah, he's not going to answer a direct question. He doesn't have the answer. He just bloviates and circles around it the whole time. You know, it's I mean, there's more about Gensler later, so we'll jump into him more later. But I wanted to jump. No, please, no more GRE Bear, and that's funny. We'll get to that as well. But I want to throw this up here because let's jump to some good news for Ripple XRP front. So TerraPay partners with Mobi to pave the way for seamless cross-border payments for Colombian residents with diaspora across the world. Now, you know, the funny thing about TerraPay, they are a Ripple partner, and I remember it wasn't too long ago that they were acquired. They were acquired by it was a Dutch startup, and again, they were working on countries all over the world, you know, be able to send money, you know, back and forth and whatever. But TerraPay, they focused on robust, scalable, agile tech platform, compliance, and acquisition of the payment intermediary and money transfer licenses. They went out and got all these money transfer licenses, and then it was acquired by this other company. So it's really nice to see, because this happens all the time. It's just there's so much about the SEC going on. But here you go. Here's another. And again, what are we talking about, Jeff? It comes up again. We're talking about Latin America. We're talking about Colombia. The first array of the partnership would enable Colombian diaspora residing in countries such as North America, Europe, the whole suite of TerraPay's 153 send partner countries. Jeff, that's pretty robust.
That's a pretty big number. It looks like they're creating their network. They're laying the rails.
You know, it opens up
pretty interesting.
Incremental opportunity to connect TerraPay's 500 million mobile plus wallet partner global customers globally with these Mobi wallets in the region. Following up on the next milestone of the months, TerraPay would be bringing together a similar interoperability platform to enable Colombia residents to receive instant money transfers. So you can just see it's more of the same. But again, if you're not paying attention to like TerraPay and know that they're a Ripple partner company, you wouldn't realize a lot of this stuff is happening. So that's what Jeff and I are always on the look for is, you know, these kinds of unique tidbits of news out there.
Well, I was gonna mention, you know, one of the things that you know you said a while back is that it doesn't matter the technology that's moving the money. Most people they're not going to get into it. Most people don't care if it's RippleNet or Ethereum. The majority of the people, they just know that when they go to move their money from point A to point B in another country, that happens instantaneous and it's near free, right? It's pennies on the dollars or frat. They don't care the other ins and out. They just want to move their money. Now, all of us that get passionate about the space and are invested in the space and are invested in seeing this new asset class develop and roll out, broadly. Now at this point, we're all super passionate. We're like, how could these guys not even know how TerraPay operates? But really, it doesn't matter that they know. It just matters that we know, and we're seeing it happen. And one of the other things, Chip, that came up that they talked about from the SEC perspective, right? Then they say, well, the Ethereum Foundation, the Ethereum network is well developed at this stage. But XRP, the XRP ledger, and everything that Ripple's working on through RippleNet isn't as developed. But is that really the case? Is that really true? They have hundreds of partners, and those partners have hundreds of branches. So the network, it takes time to roll it out. It's like Swift didn't come into being overnight. Rome wasn't built in a day, and it didn't fall in a day. It takes time for these things to happen.
No, I think what they're confusing though, the biggest confusion I see there is that, when Gensler throws up his air quotes, and so-called, and what I call so-called, and when I say so-called, there's no so-called, there's decentralization or there's not. It's either decentralized or it's not. And you know what's not decentralized? The US government. You know what's not decentralized and is quite centralized? Gary Gensler and the SEC. That's centralization, and that's why centralization is quite bad. But when I look at what Gensler puts forward when he talks about when he starts going into Ripple, listen, okay, so if they build out a new rail, that's fine. But Ripple was gifted OpenCoin, which later became, they named it Ripple and later became XRP. But it started out as OpenCoin, and it was gifted to Ripple. They didn't create it. It was already created. And the XRPL was developed, by, David Schwartz and, some other fellas over there, but they went ahead and developed it, but it's been built out. The XRPL ledger has not changed pretty much since its inception. Now they talk about, David Schwartz talks about federated sidechains and other things to be able to supplement the XRPL without changing the XRPL. You don't want to change the XRP ledger. It does its job very efficiently, but you could add federated sidechains that would give it more oomph and more functionality, but by not touching the original. So this is where the SEC gets it wrong.
Yeah, completely wrong. Even though he taught at MIT, supposedly taught about blockchain.
Apparently.
But so this
Allegedly.
is what does it say? Is all 150, right? Is all. Is it say is all?
It's all 150.
Is all 150. So he said what's bad is people like some of my family watch him, then believe what I'm doing is dodgy and illegal.
Well, that's true, but if
it is unfortunate.
I just tell everybody to turn off the news. Nothing good's going to come from it. It's not really news. It's all propaganda anyway. But you're right. I mean, somebody goes like, "Oh, so you're into those cryptocurrencies, huh?" Yeah, I hear those things are bad. I hear those things are not good. So yeah, you're going to get some of that. But again, following the same road. Look, Ripple doesn't give a rip about what's going on with the SEC in a certain way. I mean, they can move out of the U.S. tomorrow. What's going on, Sean Thompson? Good to see you, man.
Shout out to Sean over there. And hey, to that point, it's interesting. I want to throw there was just a point in this one article that kind of leads a little bit of credence to what's going on. I find it interesting because you can tell that there's a little bit of confusion running rampant amongst these different agencies. And
without a doubt.
And one thing that we're seeing right now is that the US Treasury is placing sanctions on an exchange with alleged roles in ransomware attacks. Now, this is the first time that we're seeing them actually take action. Maybe it's positive in protecting investors. But, so here it says they went after this crypto exchange, SOX, which has facilitated transaction involving illicit proceeds from at least 8 ransomware variants. Now, if that's the case, that's great. But what's interesting, as you read down through the article, it says here, while the Treasury emphasized that most virtual activity virtual currency activity is legal, right? When was the last time we saw the Treasury say that the majority of virtual currency activity was legal? The last I heard from Janet Yellen, everything was nefarious and, and the digital assets, and it's all used in the black market area. But technology facilitating those payments can be exploited by bad actors. This is the first time that I've seen any like reality and honesty being put into an article that has anything to do with the Treasury here. This statement right there that yes, they can exploit the technology, like maybe this exchange did, maybe they didn't. Cryptocurrency transactions are decentralized and can be harder to trace than those conducted through traditional financial institutions. The department said that in Suex's case, it helped facilitate illegal activity for their own illicit gains. Now, we just heard Gary Gensler say decentralized.
So-called,
right?
Jeff. So-called.
So-called. These right here, they're saying, well, crypto are decentralized, which therefore makes them harder to trace. Now, either they are decentralized or they're not, right? Now, if they aren't, then they're easier to trace, right? But this whole notion, look at the lack of clarity and confusion amongst those that are writing about it, those that are talking about it, from the SEC to the Treasury to others. It's not 100% clear. They're lacking a little bit of knowledge and education in this space, and I find it interesting, because you're already seeing like some conflict of opinion amongst those. You get like 2 or 3 opinions from the same person.
Yeah, so Matt LaRoche weighs in here. He says, with the lack of clarity, I will clarify the yet to be clarified obvious SEC clarification of an asset class that might not be assets. Take a break, touch the nose, and go eat. So I like that. That's a fun one. So let's just soldier on here. I want to show this. I want to show that Ripple. Look, they're not slowing down. They don't care. They're moving on. Ripple's looking to build a market-making platform for XRP, according to sources. Now, this story is mostly sourced from adverts, looking for potential new employees. And look at Garlinghouse sitting there all looking dapper. Global Payments, Ripple looking to build a crypto market-making platform. Now, we've heard about this for some time now, but again, it keeps kind of coming up. They're trying to hire staff in London and Singapore, according to a person with knowledge of the matter. Well, if you look at some of the open requisites for job hires, this is kind of how this story got floated. They're looking to recruit as many as 10 people. They're focused on initially hiring a crypto trader with experience at arbitrage between different exchanges, and a marketing and salesperson will be tasked with building relationships with liquidity providers and exchanges, the person said. And again, these are open recs that they have. The new group will be divided among London, New York, and Singapore. So yeah, London and Singapore. New York may not make the cut there, but you can be sure that London and Singapore, because why, Jeff? They've got 100% clarity. They don't have to really worry about it. And after the publication of the article, the Ripple spokesperson told CoinDesk, firm's not currently looking to build a market-making platform for XRP. So apparently they are at least denying it at this point. But you can see that they're up to something, right? They're building something. Did they get it right here? Probably not 100%. Is it a market-making? I don't know. I mean, why would anybody do anything in New York? New York is a cesspool of dirt and filth, and I can say that because I lived in New York and I escaped. Everyone gets a chance to escape, and I did.
It should be Miami. It should say London, right. Miami, and you say London, Miami, and Singapore, and people are like, oh yeah, I get it. And then they're like London, then you're like New York, and
New York, New York, the cesspool with their silly laws, Jeff. I mean, nobody really wants to engage there. I mean, it's quite obvious that it doesn't make any sense. Our pal Charles Gasparino, Jeff, making the rounds again. Again, he's just tweeting up a storm. He's reporting like a maniacal.
It's amazing.
He's amazing. He's just ripping it up. He put this.
Got the bug. Some people get red pilled. He got XRP pilled.
He got pilled. Yeah, he got XRP pilled. He says, still waiting for the SEC to explain to me why past blockchains were not in violation of disclosure rules when they were using their crypto to finance the build out. Of course, he's referencing Ethereum here, right? That's what they did. I get why these are not securities now, but why weren't they in violation then? XRP community hashtag. deserves an answer. This is what I like. Now he's including the XRP community, hashtag XRP community deserves an answer.
He knows what's up.
You know, Jeff, that's remarkable. He's like, yeah, the XRP community is owed an answer. They deserve to be heard, right? So here's another one. Now, this one kind of surprised me, Jeff. I want to get your take on this one. I'm going to read this one, and I want to get your just off-the-cuff reaction to it. Breaking. People close to Coinbase tell Fox Business that the digital exchange is not done opposing the SEC's blocking of its Lend product. Company will unveil proposals in the coming weeks to start a debate on the SEC's ad hoc regulation of cryptocurrency, hashtag XRP community. What are your thoughts on that?
I think something big is happening. You know, so he must have had a conversation, got some ideas from people in the know, and there's more to the story. And I'm sure that, again, like we said yesterday, somebody from the board came to Armstrong and said, "Hey, by the way, you're a publicly traded company now. Take a step back. We're not going to have a shitstorm battle of wills on Twitter between you and Gary Gensler. So take a step back. Let's reassess, and we're going to come out, all guns blazing in a certain direction." And I'm sure that there's something more that's going to go on, and they're not going to give up on such a significant part of their project. And I also really wonder, I would love to have, if there's an attorney in the space here, or we can get some commentary from some of the attorneys that are in this space in general. But on May 22nd of 2020, there was some legal updates that came through regarding the loan industry, and it really pertained to syndicated loans. However, back in June of 2020, there was an article written that was published at jdsupra.com, legal news, and on this site, the title was "Some Good News for the Loan Industry. Loans are not securities." And then you get into all the different case law that occurred to show that, hey, by the way, they get into the 1933 Act, 1934 Act. And one of the things that they indicated here is that holding the notes are not securities is important, because if loans were deemed to be securities, the 33 Act and the 34 Act could apply to the lending industry in a number of unexpected and unhelpful ways. For example, a plaintiff theoretically could bring a claim under the 33 Act and or the 34 Act, or even state blue sky laws that govern security offerings based on the allegation that statement made in the syndication information of representations in a loan document were false or misleading, creating unanticipated and broad-reaching potential legal liability for loan arrangers, lenders, and borrowers. And they get deeper and deeper. I know a lot of this had to do with the syndicated loans, which were more, you get multiple organization, financial organization kind of bundling and loaning out to bigger entities. And so there's obviously a distinction. However, the question is, if it's the case for the syndicated loans, and it was confusing up until a year ago, there was a lot of confusion in the space. How is it so clear that, the lending platform that Coinbase is offering is 100% a security, as the SEC is coming out and making those statements? I don't know exactly the answer to that, but I find it interesting that there's a lot of case law going on a year ago that put some clarity to something that wasn't clear for a very, very long time. And so now here we sit with Gary Gensler. Everything is clear. There's clarity in everything. Yet everybody else around him are like, there's no clarity. What the heck are you talking about?
Tiago Pinto, thank you for that €4.99 there. He says, "Hey boys, listening from Portugal, 1:20 a.m. here. Worth the wait to listen to you guys, to keep up the good work." Thank you, Tiago. Really appreciate your support. And I love Portugal, and I can't wait to get back there one day. And man, they have some great, I got to tell you, they have such great wine there too. I think it's very underappreciated. And, I know sometimes Spain and, France gets all the glory, but Portugal makes some seriously good wine there. Jeff, I want to jump into two other things here, these two tweets. One of them's from Raul Paul, and let's jump into this. He put out a tweet thread today, but he said, listening to Gensler, and it's clear he is laying down the hardest case he can for regulation for digital assets. But my view is that he will likely get his way, that most are going to be classified as securities, but with the wholesale change to what that means. So I replied to it, and I just said, hey, I'm sorry, I'm afraid I have to disagree. Most digital assets will not be classified as securities. The SEC has no business regulating digital assets as they are not securities. But to Raul Paul's point here, he's talking about the wholesale change to what that means as a security. So I go, well, what the hell does this mean, Jeff? Well, he gets into it. He says, it's like then the internet started to gain real traction. The authorities tried to impose harsh rules, but in the end, there had to be grand compromise to not stifle something that was important. That decision led to trillions of dollars in new capital creation, the largest investment inflows into the U.S. in history. That innovation was seeded from a light touch regulation of the internet, which changed the world and put the U.S. as a leader. And he's not the first one to bring it up, but I think he is right in emphasizing this. Digital assets are a big deal. This technology has created an entirely new financial system, more robust than the last. And that lies the problem right there, the fact that it is more robust, and created entirely new business models on a scale we're all trying to get our heads around as it's developing so damn fast. Digital assets might as well be securities, but the regulation around that will end up being so much lighter touch than today. And if they try the heavy hand, capital leaves, also the lobbying power. The crypto community is growing every day. Money talks, Jeff.
Save that one. That, to me, that tweet right there is everything. What Raul Paul is saying is, guys, be careful what you wish for, because if you piss the wrong people off, which is this new asset class community, it's strong, it's large. You've got some big players in it, and they're going to start putting their weight around. They're going to push it around, and those political pawns out there, they're not going to like the weight that's going to bear down on them.
Yeah, good point. And the reason no one wants to call something a security is that it comes with a huge burden and cost, time, and access to regular investors. But pair all that back to create innovators regulation, a layer in KYC, know your customer, tax compliance, some investor protections, and it turns out it is a very good thing. And that also means that the frankly ridiculous rules around accredited investors, and you brought this up last night, Jeff, or selling securities has to change to meet the modern world. It's not the 1930s world anymore. It's simply inexcusable to allow rich people to get richer and penalizing poor people who are not accredited, right? Jeff, it's like they'll keep the poor poor and keep the rich rich.
I'm glad you brought that up, because we're going to hammer another point when we're done with this. And
okay,
then
good.
It's going to bring everybody into the idea of what Raul Paul is saying. And that statement right there is also critical. I mean, that one. So remember these different points that are being brought up, but this one is very, very important.
And then he goes on to say, in a world of decades of stagnant real wages and rising asset prices, that's morally wrong. That very dynamic has pushed U.S. households to rack up more debt than in all of human history. What is more risky, the debt or the digital assets? We know the debt is what makes the banks rich too. The political pushback from stopping ordinary people access investments just won't work in the current political climate, and nor should it. Newer crowdfunding rules have shown the way, and the legal changes around some of that's helped, but this current system still generally forces individuals to use large financial institutions to get access to investments, keeping the power in these institutions' hands. This is unlikely to survive as a structure and inherently unfair, and trust in institution is entirely eroded. That's where he gets spot on. First part of that, I agree with the securities, but everything else, Jeff, pretty damn poignant of what he's talking about.
He summarized it well, and even Alex Mashinsky said the same thing in that last statement right there.
Exactly, and the madness of all this is that people are free to bet on sports, throw their money away in Vegas, but they can't buy securities, right? They can lose money in any number of unregulated private transactions, and this goes back to something Gensler said today, where Gensler said that I don't know if I have do I have the tweet up here? Let me see. Maybe I don't. No, it's a different tweet. But Gensler pointed out, he said that these digital assets are highly speculative. So what? Life is highly speculative, Jeff. You don't know if you're going to make it tomorrow. I mean, you don't know if you're going to get hit by a bus. I mean, life is highly speculative. But this whole idea of the mantra, they're highly speculative assets. So are stocks. Have you paid attention to the stock market in the last 50 years?
Who's AP Cool J had an opinion and it was deleted. Don't know.
Oh man.
Don't know what your opinion was. We didn't see it.
Didn't see it yet. So my view is that in the end, we'll get new security laws for digital assets. They'll be cheaper, faster, fairer, and much more onerous on issuers. Consumer protection will have to come via warnings or some sort of risk metrics. But dude, I mean, comes down to the nanny state where all of a sudden protection is one thing. Protect against fraud, companies doing the wrong thing, misleading people. That's one thing. But to assume that people don't know how to make a decision for their investment future, they don't know how to pull the trigger on something. If they want to invest in Dogecoin, let them invest in Dogecoin. I mean, who cares? Doge now, I mean, thanks to Flare, actually has a use case now. But the point of it is to assume that people don't have the basic wherewithal to make their own decisions, and you need the nanny state to sit there and help them along. It's insane.
Yeah, the only area where I start, agreeing with some of the rules when you log in to an exchange to buy stock is if you're trading options,
right?
Or you're trying to just leverage, just like we saw, some of these going on within the crypto space, and you're taking, you're leveraging your asset, borrowing against it to double down and borrow more. And once you start doing things like that, it becomes, you're already in a speculative environment. Why do you want to double down on that speculation? I get it. You know what? There should be some sort of learning curve before you dive in to options and all. Yeah, it's scary. Then the stock space, people lose their shirt overnight on options.
Overnight,
if you don't know what you're doing, you get wiped out and your option gets called and you're done. That's it. Your money's gone.
Well, it happens in crypto too. That's the problem. But in crypto, Jeff, I think it's more misleading the way, at least in the stock world, it's a little bit positioned differently than, they don't really give you the ramifications of what happens if you don't cover, if something doesn't happen on these options. And that's where everything goes off the rails.
Shout out to XRP Speedboat. Thanks for the support. Big support over here. Everything started going downhill after Harry Sefridge in 1909 said the customer is always right.
The customer is always right.
We know that's not true, because sometimes the customer thinks they're right, and they think they're right, and you just have to kind of guide them into the understanding that they're not. That's just how it works.
So I'll finish up with the Raw Paul. He says the next 3 to 5 years in crypto will be about setting the battle lines, then using the courts and lobbyists to reach a grand settlement of what it means to classify something as a security. In the end, that will help the space. As with all regulations, there will be regulation arbitrage in different jurisdictions if required, but regulation is coming globally, and countries that actively encourage these entrepreneurs with lighter regulation will take the lion's share of the benefits. I don't see the U.S. making the same mistakes the EU did with the internet companies that essentially forced all innovators abroad. It's not in the U.S. DNA, but is it in the regulators' DNA, Jeff? That's the thing. Gensler's hard line is the start of a long negotiation. Classic negotiation tactics. Start ultra tough, then compromise. The DA industry needs to formally come together, do the same, just as internet companies did. It's going to cost a lot of money, but in the end, where there's compromise is made, and the difference between a $10 trillion industry or a $200 trillion industry, that's one hell of a prize.
That's a huge prize, and he's right. And you got some people in there. There's a power struggle going on right now, and that side of the power, they don't want to relinquish their political power. And look at Crypto Fitter over here says, I believe we're in the fourth wave of the C leg, one more dip and then a bounce, not financial advice. I don't know what he's talking about, Chip, but that's the point. If you don't understand the technicals of, I get it. You get into chart reading, it's a whole different world, cups with handles, double bottoms, all that good stuff. And you start really diving in and understanding it. But and it's tough, and then people try to play around with it. It's not something you can play around with. You have to understand it, and there's not a secret sauce to it, which is a key point. But following up, Chip, on everything that we just saw from Roll Paul, everything that we see Gary Gensler doing, everything that we hear Gasparino talking about. Now, this is so critical because if you're in the United States, you have to understand the dynamics of things that are happening around us, both from an economic and then also from a political measure perspective, because it impacts what's happening to us in the crypto space. Now, one of the things that we're talking about here are accredited investors. Now, in the title, I said, you must be rich, right? And the point here is that if you think about some of the investment vehicles and potentially what they would like to see happen by making claim that stable coins and all these digital assets are securities that can become regulated, that could then become only accessible to someone that's accredited potentially, or you have to go through specific exchanges with the big financial institutions. So now this whole regulation is pushing money back into the hands of the brick and mortars, and they want to limit access to certain individuals. So think about that for a minute. And when we look at what's happening here, this is on the same CNBC, but House Democrats' plan would prohibit individual retirement accounts from holding private equity and hedge funds. Now, if you think about what some of these statements are going to say, they're going to resonate with you because you can't disagree, and you're going to get pissed off when you see the kinds of ideas that they're promoting.
They're not ideas, Jeff. That's just trouncing. Yeah.
Yeah, you get it. But here's one. House Democrats proposed a tax package that would prohibit individual retirement accounts from holding private equity, hedge funds, and other investments for, right? Get this, let's underline, what are they made for? Accredited investors. These investments have requirements to partake, pegged to income, net worth, or other measures. So what they're saying is you have to be wealthy in order to benefit from these certain products. Proponents think the plan reduces IRA's what does that say? IRA's use as a tax shelter and as investor protection benefits, while others think it may unfairly subject some high and middle earners to penalties. But you get in here, a tax package unveiled would forbid individual retirement accounts from holding certain private investments typically reserved for wealthy, right? So who are they protecting? Why are they doing it? While proponents think the proposal would raise investor protection and reduce the use of an IRA as a tax shelter for the rich, critics think it could lead to a big financial hit for some investors, even some everyday savers. So you really dig into it. They want to limit certain investment vehicles to those that are accredited. Now, if we look at the benchmark for an accredited investor, that status is, $200,000 of annual income or more, or a $1 million net worth excluding your home. It lets them invest in securities like private equity, hedge funds, and venture capital. They aren't publicly traded, unlike mutual funds and stocks available on a public stock exchange. So as they start to twist and kind of bastardize the narrative of crypto, which is what they're trying to do, they keep pushing in that direction. They want you to be accredited. They start the terminology and the verbiage that you hear Gary Gensler talking about and some of the others. What do we know? Are they pushing things in that direction, or are they not pushing in that direction? But you have to be very, very cognizant of what's happening, because we don't want to catch ourselves in a position and you run out and vote. Hey, I'm going to vote for this guy because of my one policy thought. And then all of a sudden on the economic side, they're destroying you. They're destroying everything. But this is our one topic, concept right here, cryptocurrency. If you're passionate about it, you want to see it grow, you want to see innovation, you want to see it's successful, you want to see, 5 years from now where it's helping people all over the world, man. What do you think, Chip?
I think that was a lot, Jeff. You unpacked right there. But the whole idea of this, again, it comes back to, what are they trying to do? They're always trying to protect the rich. They're trying to protect each other, right? They want to cover each other, but they really don't want the commoners, not the little people. You guys, just not smart enough. You're not accredited investors. You don't really know what you're doing, and you can't make your own decisions for your investment future. So yeah, when you start getting down to that, it starts making a lot of sense, Jeff. I mean, I wanted to. So I wanted to bring this up because this is, I don't know if you were aware of this, but there was the Met Gala. You had Ocasio AOC, as she's known, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She went to this Met Gala. 30,000. Screw the commoners. That's right, Reg. Screw the commoners. She wore the tax the rich dress in. I don't know if you had noticed that, Jeff, but did you know? Did you know that GRE Bear? Did you know that GRE Bear was there? So XRP Productions, which is a great parody site, he says, "Wow, I did not know GRE Bear was at the Met Gala. Look at that right there, Sue Ripple. Sue the Ripple, Sue the Ripple. You gotta love that, man. So look at GRE Bear in his little his little dress right there, Sue the Ripple. So I mean that's." Who knew GRE Bear had it in him? I love GRE Bear. I mean, that is some funny ass stuff right there, Jeff.
It's funny.
GRE Bear, Sue the Ripple. So there you go. That's just have a little fun at Gary Gensler's expense because, well, why not? I mean, why not? He's a funny kind of a guy. I mean, why wouldn't we laugh at him? So I don't know if you knew this, Jeff, but today Gary Gensler did an official interview with WAPO, better known as Washington Post. Which is it's
I wonder what the WAPO was.
Yeah, WAPO. It's you know what it is, Jeff. It's a complete.
I know it is.
It's a complete S show, right? But anyway, so here's a video clip of GRE Bear at the talking about cryptocurrencies. Let's listen in here.
Peer-to-peer lending for 15, 20 years. We've experimented with it. This is a new type of experiment. So those, I think, are really interesting innovations challenging the established business models. On the other hand, I would say I don't think it is a good idea to wait until there's a spill in aisle 3 and we hear in the loudspeakers overhead from the Washington Post and your competitors clean up in aisle 3, and then those of us in the official sector have to rush in, and we've got congressional hearings, and we're sort of like, well, why wasn't anybody worried there was going to be a need for clean up in aisle 3? And I think at $2 trillion, 5,000 or 6,000 projects, that it would be better to be inside investor consumer protection, inside the tax compliance and anti-money laundering and financial stability. Now, if we don't do anything and there's never a spill in aisle 3, great. But I think history tells us private forms of money don't last long. History tells us that investment contracts outside an investment protection remit, people get hurt. That if we have lending platforms that are outside either the securities perimeter or banking perimeter, that usually they get excess leverage and we have financial stability issues. These stable coins are acting almost like poker chips at the casino.
Why are they acting like poker chips at the casino? Why are they poker chip? I clean up on aisle 3. I mean, look, he's trying to use these clever analogies that don't make any sense.
Too many clean up on aisle 3.
The clean up on aisle 3 is Gensler. Throw him right out with the trash, get him out of it.
Chip, as he's talking, I'm like, let's look around the world right now. It's like, I just saw the France pull their ambassadors from 2 countries. I see epic disasters at a border. I saw a disaster overseas in Afghanistan. I saw, missiles rain down from a drone that murdered a family. I've seen, catastrophes all over the world. I've seen banks that are caught up in fraud and deception and all sorts of crazy things. And I'm listening to him talk about cleanup on aisle 3. I'm like, man, your grocery store was burned down. There's you don't have to worry about the cleanup anymore.
How about the reduced funding of Israel's Iron Dome? It's just like it's nonstop stuff, and he's given the cleanup on aisle 3 analogy here.
And forget about the whole past year and of what we've just gone through and private industry being shut down. And forget about all the product shortages that everyone's hinting at. And forget about all the gas prices that are are tripling right now, and everything else, all over the world. I'm like, huh, let's see. And now he's worried about poker chips.
Stable coins are acting almost like poker chips at the casino right now. That
I
makes
don't understand that shit.
absolutely zero sense. But let's finish this Gensler tirade.
Right now, so add to the Wild West analogy. I mean, we've got a lot of casinos here in the Wild West, and the poker chip is these stable coins, at the casino gaming tables. And so I think there's just a lot of kind of warning signs and flashing lights that we might have a spill in Al3, and I'd rather get ahead of it.
He'd rather get ahead of it. You know what I'd rather do? I'd rather get him out of there. I mean, I'd rather just fire him. I mean, he's just he's an absolute disaster, Jeff. He's like, clean up on aisle 3. Gary, I hate to tell you, but the SEC is the cleanup on aisle 3. Okay, we need to clean the SEC up and get out of there. And it's like, the whole idea of the digital assets. If they're not securities, which I don't believe they're securities, and he's like, so-called decentralization. So Gary Gensler, are we supposed to buy this story that Gary Gensler taught at MIT? He taught about cryptocurrency. He knows the ins and outs of it. And then all of a sudden he gets to be the SEC official and he turns into cop on the beat. Forget everything I ever knew. Everything's a security. Poker chips are really masquerading as stable coins in the casinos of the wild, wild west. I mean, Jeff,
you do have Tether.
Yeah, you do have Tether. Well,
you do have Tether, so you get
well, there is Tether. I mean, but there is USDC. There's some good ones out there too. They're not all. They're
USDC
bad.
chip is backed by a pretty good organization. So I look at USDC. I'm like, come on, it's crazy, Chip. It's crazy. But XRP Speedboat over here said, I like to do the final scene of Midnight Express. All right, let's not put that one up there, but thanks for the support.
Yeah, that might not be that movie. Yeah, I remember seeing that movie, Jeff. I know exactly what happened in that movie. It didn't end well. So Gasparino again, another banger of a quote here. Sharing his experience because he was there for the .com boom and crash. He says, as someone who saw the internet grow and crash and grow again, I'd say this to the XRP #XRP community. The future of XRP and Ripple won't be decided by the SEC. It will be decided by the efficacy of the product that will overcome idiotic enforcement efforts if it's the real thing.
No,
Man, that is brilliant. A statement. I mean, it's amazing how he's picked up on this thing. It will not be decided by the SEC. It'll be decided by the efficacy of the product. It will overcome idiotic enforcement efforts. By the way, the idiotic part, that's referencing Gary Gensler and his cronies over there. And except for people like Roisman and, Pierce who are fighting the good fight. And I love that Hester Pierce is coming out all over the place against Gary Gensler. It's almost like just put him on stage and let him duel to the death because she is absolutely standing up and she's not laying down. She's not like, hey, I'm just going to go away. No, she's going to get her thoughts out there. She's put forth some good of that proposal with the safe harbor. And you know what? She's been squashed every moment, every single day. So a little bit unfairly, I must add as well.
Exactly. So, hey, Chip, someone brought this up, so I just got to throw it up here right quick. Here we go. Gonna have to clip this.
Oh, here we go. Gary.
You'll notice something different.
Go, Gary, go. Go, Gary, go. So look at this. So Sean Wright says, so poker chips are now securities? Yeah.
I never think about it from that perspective.
Yeah, he's putting. I mean, what hasn't he trashed yet? Now poker chips are securities. The Wild West, nefarious. And then also in that interview when he said it's a highly speculative asset. So what, dude? Everything's the whole idea of it being highly speculative is like it's highly speculative. Oh, is it GRE Bear? GRE Bear.
GRE Bear.
Is it? Oh, GRE Bear. Is it GRE Bear? It potentially could be GRE Bear. And then this one here, and I didn't see this, but this is Gasparino here. He says,
look at Jim D. He says ban cards to stop poker chips.
There you go. He's a breaking crypto mom. Hester Pierce concedes to Fox Business that there's work to be done to fix crypto's uneven regulatory framework. So this is what I'm talking about. Here she is coming out, being very obvious, saying there is a lot of work to be done because there is no regulatory framework. It's uneven. There is not a lot of clarity. And so thank God that you have a commissioner inside the SEC who's not going along with the official decentralization narrative or Mr. GRE Bear's, official narrative. So it's fun to see. It's fun to see that she's not having any of it with the GRE Bear. Her and the GRE Bear are not friends. I feel.
Well, Legendary said Hester Pierce hasn't taught at MIT for 3 whole years, so she gets no respect. That's right, 3 whole years.
She did author.
I mean, I'm not being invited to teach at MIT anytime soon, but it's.
Yeah, you might not be invited to teach there very soon, but Jeff, I mean, you got to look at it from a standpoint of Hester Pierce is like she's not really. I mean, she's not going along to get along to go along. She's not doing that. I love the fact that she's stepping up, man. This is an older story, Jeff, but I kind of came across it. I actually found it pretty fascinating how it fits into this whole thing. It's kind of a little bit of an offshoot here, but and again, Wyoming, a leader in the U.S., but Wyoming-based DAO files an S1 with the SEC for token distribution. A decentralized autonomous organization out of Wyoming is looking to register with the SEC as a public company due to a new S1 filing with the agency. DAOs are leadership structures for grassroots economies run on the blockchain, can contain secondary markets for exchanging governance tokens that members use to express consensus on leadership decisions for the group. And I believe that at some point that there will be a government that will be run as a DAO because it will be by the people, for the people. It will be completely decentralized and the people will be in control of it. And you won't have any funny business. It says American Crypto Fed DAO LLC is one of the first DAOs to formally request recognition from the SEC via the S1 registration and touts itself as the first DAO out of Wyoming. Crypto advocates have debated the best way for such decentralized organizations to be run by governments, and the U.S. state made a significant mark on the conversation earlier this year. And a hotly debated law where the state allowed DAOs to be chartered and recognized by state authorities as limited liability companies. And again, that's where we see Wyoming really leading on this front. Though there are multiple paths to compliance, the Crypto Fed is following Wyoming's path. Its attached exhibit designates and the DAO is located in Wyoming and the government's contract. But I thought this was interesting only because they're being right up front with the S1 filing with the SEC looking for permission. Now, again, out of Wyoming, it's not going to be an issue per se, but it is an issue with the regulators, right? So they have to seek permission from Gensler and company or, with the SEC there. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
That's interesting. I like that. It's very good. Very good. So Chip, there's something else here that we go through all of this and people say, hey, you know what? Is this space actually growing and developing? Are we actually getting, major traction in the crypto space? Are the stable coins and cryptocurrency, are they actually putting pressure on all these central banks, with their CBDCs? And that's why they're all rushing to get it done. And Chip, yeah, I think you put this one in here, but this one's BIS, the Bank of International Settlement, wants central banks to move faster with the CBDCs amid looming stablecoin pressure. I think that's big news.
It's huge, yeah.
Right. The fact that and you always central, right? So it's hyper, spotlight central. But the head of the innovation lab at the Bank for International Settlements has called on central banks to step up their CBDC efforts to compete with the quickly evolving stablecoins and decentralized finance. I love how so many keep talking about decentralized finance. Everyone's talking about DeFi, decentralized finance, and many within the economic space are seeing it of what it's going to do because it has such great benefits, except for Gensler because he likes using his air quotes when it's the so-called
air quotes Gensler
decentralized. But
there he is.
here, look at This includes big tech such as the embattled Facebook's DM, stablecoin issuers, and DeFi. The banker believes, because of the advantages, because of what's going on. They're taking on. Here it says, but here, Benoit, this guy over here,
Benoit.
Benoit.
Benoit Couture,
yeah. So Benoit looks easier to read. Benoit believes that central bank issued money is superior due to factors such as safety, finality, liquidity, and integrity. What would you say to that? Do you think that guy's spot on, or is he completely off his rock?
Well, just to kind of back up a little bit, look at how the narrative is flipped. Okay, so they had to rush the CBDCs out because they were threatened by cryptocurrency, right? Now you can see how the script is flipped a little bit. And now the central focus that they're really worried about is the stable coins. You see Gensler talking about it, referring it to poker chips. You got the BIS now talking about, we got to get the CBCs out, because what they're really worried about is these stable coins overtaking the fiat currency. So they got to roll their centralized, digital version of it out. But I'm just shocked at how fast this narrative flipped over for the reason for CBDCs. Remember, it was all about cryptocurrency. We gotta, they were gonna be in the game, and sort of, in a roundabout way, pretend they were in the crypto space, even though CBDCs have nothing to do with blockchain or crypto.
Look at this here, though. Look at these statements. Stablecoins may develop as closed ecosystems or walled gardens, creating fragmentation. With DeFi protocols, any concerns about the assets underlying stablecoins could see contagion spread through a system. But CBDCs will be part of the answer. Now, I see it's interesting. A CBDC looks like it's a fairly closed, walled garden ecosystem.
Yeah, it's pretty much exactly that. So I want to throw that up there. Rickard Martinez, have you heard of INDC #1 trending on CMC? I have not. Jeff, you?
Don't know what it is.
No, don't know what it is either. Hey, one little quick last story, because again, Jeff, we talk about decentralization equals freedom. This is a great story. BitClout founder reveals DeSo, a $200 million blockchain to take on Facebook. Diamond Hands, the creator of BitClout, revealed his identity and larger aims to build a decentralized social network. Now, we had Twitter talking about it. Remember, they're talking about they've got that entity called Blue Sky. Facebook has sort of floated the idea, and this guy's going after it. And what I love about this is he says the person behind BitClout, Decentralized Social, is Nader Al-Naji. BitClout was step one in a bigger blockchain project called DeSo. And the company has raised over $200 million, Jeff, to disrupt Facebook and Twitter. Decentralization is freedom. And if this guy can pull something like this off, Diamond Hands jolted the tech and crypto world this spring by rolling out BitClout, the new type of social network, which includes tokens whose value is determined by the user's popularity. Site attracted a flurry of media attention, no shortage of criticism. I remember this went out with a bang. On Tuesday, the nature of it became even clearer as he revealed his identity and what he was really doing. And now I see this, Jeff, is just remarkable on the front of trying to take on something, but again, in a decentralized nature, because guess what? In decentralization, you have freedom of speech. You're not going to get censored. You're not going to get deplatformed, and you certainly have a lot more ability there. So, and then we've got this from Mark Chalmers for that 10 spot. Thank you. LFG, hashtag Nano Dogecoin. Check us out. So we got a lot of promotions.
They're throwing out a lot of promotions. That's what the INDC is actually. I'm on their Nano Doge website, and the INDC is a staking mechanism. So it's something we'll have to dig into a little bit and see what their white paper is all about. But they got a little baby Doge over here.
Same here with the LFG. Look at that, the Nano Doge coin. So I don't know if that's like something, a takeoff or a completely different coin altogether.
I got Turbo Nerd. It looks like he's shouting out the same project here. Don't know anything about the project. They're getting a little bit of
INDC. We'll check it out. Consecutive.
We'll definitely check it out. We'll see what it's all about. Articles about them on Benzinga, on Bitcoin News. all from the past couple weeks, Market Watch. So we'll check it out. We'll read into it. And then, yeah, that'll be interesting.
So
it's always cool to see new projects popping up. And so we'll take a look at it.
Yeah, and one other thing I want to share is this right here is as many well knew diamond hands as Nader Al-Naji, a former Google engineer known for creating Basis, a stablecoin project that raised $130 million in 2018, only to pull the plug months later. Now Al-Naji has returned to the public eye to promote BitCloud, DeSo, a new blockchain built from BitCloud's underlying technology. Looking to host over 100 apps as part of the plan to challenge Facebook and other centralized social networks. So love the idea of it, Jeff. I love the idea. I just love decentralization making its way in, and it's scaring the hell out of the daylights out of the elites out there. So, but anyway, given the fact that we somehow just burned through 1 hour of talking and we didn't even get to a lot of the stuff we wanted to, but just wanted to mention that we broadcast 6 days a week, Sunday through Thursday, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. And then again on Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. And then please like, subscribe, click that notification bell, click the thumbs up. It does help us. Share this with somebody. And that's how you can help us here on the chain. And while Jeff's hitting every button he can possibly press there, it's awesome. Boom, boom, boom. We just need some sound effects and we're all golden. So that's all I have, Jeff. Anything before we get out of here?
Got one last thing for everyone who supported the show tonight.
Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, thank you guys for the massive support. Thank you for coming in today, guys. We love you. We'll see you again tomorrow. And also coming up on Thursday, we've got Travis Wright and Joel Comm, the pair that run they're the brains behind the Bad Crypto podcast. One of the best podcasts out there for crypto and learning about crypto. They cover the entire gamut. They're knee deep in NFTs, but they will be here Thursday night. We rescheduled them. Jeff and I were fortunate to be on their podcast individually, and we'll talk a little bit about that, but super excited to have Joel and Travis on the chain.
Right here, Thursday night.
Thursday night, guys. So that's all I have. We'll see you on the next one. Chip and Jeff out. You guys, let's go.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.